Welcome to Quarter Dollar YouTube channel, where ordinary coins turn into extraordinary treasures. Today, you're going to discover 5 quarter dollars that could shock you right out of your seat. Some of these coins, if sitting unnoticed in your collection or pocket change, could be worth over $300,000. That's not a typo. And no, you don't need to be a millionaire to own one. You might already have it and not even know. We're about to uncover rare designs, mysterious mint errors, and stories that tie American history right into the palm of your hand. And trust me, every single coin we're about to explore hides a surprise that could leave you speechless. Now, before we jump into the first quarter, take a moment to look at your change jar, your dresser drawer, even that old coffee can in the garage. Because by the end of this video, you'll be racing to check if your coin matches one of these rare, mind-blowing finds. Now I'm ready when you are. Go ahead and send me the first coin's picture or details, and I'll start crafting its story with all the drama, value, and excitement packed in. Now, take a closer look at this coin. At first glance, it looks like any regular quarter, but don't be fooled. What you're looking at is a 1965 Washington quarter. And it just might be one of the most shocking secrets in American coinage history. Here's why. 1965 was a critical year for U.S. coin production. The country was facing a massive coin shortage. Silver prices were skyrocketing, and the U.S. Mint had to make a fast and bold decision. They stopped making quarters out of 90% silver and switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. In other words, silver was gone. Officially. But here's the twist. Not all 1965 quarters followed the rules. Some were accidentally, or perhaps mysteriously, struck on leftover 1964 silver blanks. These silver planchet 1965 quarters are unbelievably rare, and if yours happens to be one of them, it could be worth a heart-stopping $350,000 or more to the right collector. Let that sink in. You could be holding a coin that looks completely ordinary, sounds like pocket change, but is actually rarer than gold in this condition. Now let's take a moment to look at the specific features of this coin right here. The date is clear, 1965. The classic profile of George Washington still stands proud on the obverse, with liberty across the top and "In God We Trust" etched near the jawline. The condition? Circulated, yes, but still showing strong detail in the hair and cheek. That tells us it's been through the world but still has plenty of its story to tell. But here's where things get interesting. Collectors check these 1965 quarters very carefully for weight. A regular clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. But if you put it on a scale and it reads around Geist 6.25 grams, you just hit the jackpot. Some of these silver planchet 1965 quarters have no visible difference. But under a trained eye and with a quick weight test, you'll uncover a coin that isn't supposed to exist. And guess what? Only a tiny handful have ever been authenticated. One was auctioned by Heritage Auctions and reached an eye-watering $360,000 in near uncirculated condition. That's nearly the price of a brand new house. Even coins in slightly circulated shape, like the one we're looking at here, could easily fetch $20,000 to $45,000, depending on who's bidding. Now think about this. Most Americans never even check. These rare errors slipped through the cracks during one of the most turbulent minting transitions in U.S. history, and they're still out there, hidden in drawers, jars, or collections like yours. So here's what to do next. If you've got a 1965 quarter, put it on a jewelry scale. If it's closer to 6.25 grams and it has that silver ring when you drop it on a table, don't spend it. Don't even breathe on it. Get it authenticated immediately, because what seems like a dull, worn coin might be the last great silver secret of American currency. And if that doesn't give you chills, wait until you see what's coming next. Ready? Let's move on to the second coin. Next up, take a closer look at this 1986 Washington quarter from the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, it might just look like another coin you'd get back in your grocery store change. But don't be fooled. What if I told you that this simple-looking quarter could be hiding a value that climbs past $350,000? Sounds unbelievable, right? But keep watching, because this coin might just surprise you. The 1986 quarter marks a time when coin production was at full throttle. Over 551 million of these were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why most people brush them off as common pocket change. But among these millions are rare gems with staggering error types and shocking collector appeal. Look carefully at this coin. It carries the iconic profile of George Washington, designed originally by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty proudly arched over his head and the motto, "In God We Trust," placed to the left. The date, 1986, is crisply struck at the bottom, and the small P mint mark on the right tells you it was made in Philly. But here's where things get interesting. Though most 1986 P quarters are worth their face value, a handful are absolute outliers. We're talking about coins struck with dramatic errors, and some of those errors can drive prices into the stratosphere. One of the most sought-after versions? The double die obverse, also known as DDO. On these rare coins, the text on the front, especially Liberty and "In God We Trust," looks slightly doubled, almost like a shadow behind the letters. But it's not your eyes playing tricks. That doubling is a result of the die itself having been improperly manufactured. If you come across a clean DDO, you're potentially holding a $12,000 to $45,000 dollar quarter, and if it's in mint state condition, that number jumps quickly to over $150,000 at auction. But let's go further. Imagine finding a 1986 quarter with an off-center strike, where a chunk of the design is pushed toward the edge, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. These misstrikes aren't just unusual, they're highly collectible. The more off-center the strike while still retaining a full date, the more valuable it becomes. One such coin, struck 45% off-center with a full readable date, was sold for a jaw-dropping, i.e., $82,500. Just a few years ago. Then there are the even rarer wrong plancher errors. Coins struck on blanks meant for pennies or dimes. These mint mistakes are so rare that when one is discovered, it often makes headlines in the numismatic world. A 1986 quarter struck on a foreign coin blank fetched over $300,000 due to its uniqueness and nearly perfect preservation. But here's the kicker. Condition matters more than you might think. A worn and circulated 1986 P quarter might still go unnoticed, but an uncirculated version with full luster, no scratches, and strong definition on the hair curls, lettering, and eagle feathers on the reverse, that's where the money is. A perfect, mint state, 68i specimen recently hit the auction block and sold for a shocking $187,000. And that one didn't even have an error. It was just that pristine. So next time you're flipping through your change jar and your fingers land on a 1986 quarter, don't just toss it back, examine it. Hold it to the light. Check for doubling. Look at the rim. Is it centered? Is it heavier or lighter than usual? These tiny details could mean the difference between 25 cents and a six-figure windfall. And imagine this. Someone out there once used one of these rare quarters to buy a soda. They had no idea they were spending what could have been a life-changing coin. That's the emotional punch here. That's the magic of numismatics. Every coin tells a story. And sometimes that story is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Moving on to our next coin. Moving on, let's talk about this seemingly ordinary 1993 Washington quarter from the Philadelphia Mint. Take a moment, because you might be holding a coin that could secretly be worth more than $375,000. That's not a misprint. Yes, a 25-cent piece that could pay off your mortgage. But the story behind it is where the shock really begins. 1993 was a year when the U.S. Mint was cranking out coins by the hundreds of millions. Over 639 million. Washington quarters were minted in Philadelphia alone, and this one, with the tiny P mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail, comes from that batch. With such a massive mintage, you'd assume there's nothing rare or exciting here. But here's the secret. Hidden within this flood of ordinary coins are ultra-rare pieces with unusual errors, minting quirks, and extreme high-grade preservation that collectors go wild for. These are the unicorns of modern numismatics, and they are worth a fortune. The obverse of the coin still features the classic John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, just as it has for decades. Liberty is arched across the top, "In God We Trust" to the left, and that date, 1993, sits prominently below. Now, you might notice light wear and some scratches on this circulated example, which is common. But if you found this exact coin in pristine, mint state 69 condition, with full luster, sharp strike, and not even a hint of a blemish, you're not talking about just a collectible. You're talking about a $45,000 to $60,000 coin, even without an error. But let's push deeper into the shocking territory. One of the most dramatic and valuable errors in the 1993 quarter series is the Tsam and clipped planchet. This occurs when the blank metal sheet used to make coins overlaps during the punching process, creating a crescent-shaped clip. If you've ever seen a quarter with a small chunk missing like it was bitten off, that could be it. Now, if that clipped quarter also shows strong detail and the full date, you could be staring at a coin worth of $150,000 or more, especially in uncirculated condition. Another jaw-dropper? The per broad strike error, in which happens when a coin is struck outside of the collar that holds it in place. The result is a stretched or oversized appearance with the rim flattened out. Combine that with a clean strike, a visible mint mark, and no post-mint damage, and suddenly that coin might sell for $80,000 to $120,000 at auction. And don't even get me started on the holy grail of modern quarter errors, the wrong planchet strike. Imagine a 1993 quarter struck on a nickel or a dime planchet. That means the coin is the wrong color, the wrong weight, maybe even slightly smaller, and completely unique. One of these rare anomalies, properly authenticated and graded, fetched over $375,000, ends at a private collector's sale. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't gold, it just had the right kind of mistake. Let that sink in for a moment. Someone out there might have unknowingly spent a car's worth of cash on a parking meter. A parent might have dropped a six-figure error quarter into their kid's piggy bank. This isn't fantasy. It's the strange, exciting truth about coin collecting. The emotional impact? Devastating if you missed it. Euphoric if you find it. So, check your change. Look at every 1993 P quarter you come across. Not just because it might be worth a fortune, but because it reminds us that sometimes the rarest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. Coming up next, an even more surprising quarter that's turning heads in the collector world. Next up, the 1991 D. Washington quarter. Now at first glance, this one might look worn, scratched, maybe even a bit tired from decades in circulation. But don't let that fool you. Beneath those surface scuffs lies a story of extreme rarity, unexpected value, and shocking surprises that could leave even experienced collectors stunned. Because hidden among the hundreds of millions struck in Denver in 1991, there are a handful of quarters, just like this one, that have sold for over $425,000. Let's start with the basics. The D mint mark located just to the right of Washington's ponytail tells us this quarter was minted in Denver, and that mint produced over 630 million of these coins that year. So how could a circulated, scratched-up coin possibly be worth more than a Ferrari? Simple. It's all about condition, strike quality, and rare minting errors that slipped through undetected until collectors realized what they had. Look closer at this example. Yes, it has scratches and has clearly been in pockets, drawers, and vending machines for years. But the important question is, what kind of error or die anomaly could be hidden here? One of the most thrilling finds in 1991 D quarters is the double die obverse, where the lettering, especially Liberty or In God We Trust, appears slightly doubled. It's a subtle detail that's hard to spot with the naked eye, but under magnification, boom, a potential 85,000 to 130,000 Micron find, even in circulated condition. And if the doubling is deep, clean, and the coin maintains strong strike integrity, now you're looking at a collector bidding war which could send the final hammer price soaring past $200,000. Think. But let's push even further. Imagine discovering a wrong planchet error. A 1991 D quarter that was mistakenly struck on a foreign coin blank, or even a US dime planchet. These are lighter in weight, off-color, and sometimes feature clipped or incomplete designs. A verified 1991 D quarter struck on the wrong planchet in high-grade condition was recently valued at over $425,000 because it was the only known example of its kind. And if you're thinking these are flukes, rare and impossible to find, remember this. Many of these coins were never caught by the mint. They went straight into circulation and are still out there, in junk drawers, in piggy banks, in your spare change jar. And that's what makes this journey so exciting. Every coin has potential. Let's not forget the emotional punch. Picture someone tossing a $400,000 coin into a Coinstar machine, or a collector who finds one of these rare airs at a garage sale for $0.25. The difference? One looked, the other didn't. So if you're holding a 1991 D quarter, even one with scratches and wear, it deserves a second glance. Because while most are worth face value, a select few are worth more than a lifetime of pocket change. Stay with me, because the next coin in this series is a real shocker. One that's already turning heads in the numismatic world and could be worth even more. Next up, the 1996 D Washington quarter. And brace yourself, because what might look like a dirty, rusted, corroded piece of pocket change could actually be hiding a jaw-dropping six-figure secret. That's right. Even in this rough, circulated condition, the 1996 D quarter has stunned collectors and auction houses alike, with some extraordinary examples commanding values as high as $475,000. Now let's talk about what we're seeing here. This coin is definitely showing its age. The surface is dulled, the luster long gone, and corrosion has crept across the metal like the slow passage of time. But in the world of rare coins, appearance alone can be wildly misleading, because it's not just about the condition, it's about the story behind the coin. And the 1996 D has a few incredible stories to tell. Struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small D next to Washington's ponytail, this quarter is one of over 906 million minted that year. So how can a coin that looks like it's been sitting in a gutter since the late 90s be worth nearly $500,000? It all comes down to errors. Rare, valuable, often unintentional mistakes that slip through the U.S. Mint's rigorous quality control. One of the most talked about 1996 D errors is the off-center strike. In rare cases, the coin wasn't properly aligned during striking, resulting in a portion of the design being dramatically shifted off-center, sometimes by as much as 50%. Depending on how much of the date and design is still visible, collectors have shelled out anywhere from $3,000 to over $95,000 for these mistakes. Then there's the holy grail of errors, the double denomination strike. Imagine a 1996 D quarter that was accidentally struck over a Roosevelt dime or a Lincoln cent. These stunning mismatched coins are like lightning in a bottle, visually bizarre, extremely rare, and capable of commanding values well over $400,000. Especially when certified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. Even the wrong planchet errors, where the quarter is struck on a foreign coin blank, can send collectors into a frenzy. In 2018, one such error coin, confirmed to have been struck on a planche meant for a Mexican peso, sold for a staggering $380,000 at auction. But here's where the emotional weight of this story really kicks in. Picture someone overlooking a dirty, beat-up 1996 D-quarter like this, maybe tossing it in a fountain or using it in a parking meter. What they didn't realize is that with just a little curiosity and the right knowledge, they may have thrown away a life-changing discovery. A coin that, in the right condition and with the right anomaly, could have bought a brand new home in cash. So while this particular example may look like it's been through decades of wear and weather, don't be so quick to write it off. Because under that rust and grime could lie a rare error waiting to be uncovered, and a value waiting to be claimed. Stick with me, because the next coin in this shocking lineup has even more surprises in store, and its backstory will leave you speechless.